season through without any significant hiccups.
Yeah, definitely. And let's not waste any time and bring on the first of our special guests tonight. Let me see. Hopefully we can see him. Can we hear him?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Herbie. How you doing, bro?
Doing good. I don't know why you can't see me. I just checked my video, but that's weird. Doing well. Thanks for having me on, Kyle and Sean.
Yeah, Herb Lawrence, our first guest of the evening, executive producer of the Lawrence Home Show on 670 The Score, the official broadcasters for the Chicago Cubs, and great guy who's always been accommodating to the Dean Davis crew and everybody when we've been down there and everything. And Herbie, man, just first, thanks for coming on. And all right, there we go. We're starting to see something
That's
now.
The back one.
Oh, all right, there we go.
There we go. What's up, bro?
There I am.
All right.
What's up?
Yeah, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Just got off work. I'm enjoying a little time off. We're just cooking some dinner, so excited. I'm not, 100% into this game today, but I saw the 3-1. Yankees are getting into Max Scherzer a little bit early, so good to see that.
Oh, is that you like to see that? You're not a Max Scherzer
guy? I mean, he's a former Detroit Tiger, so he used to kick the White Sox ass. So yeah, I don't, too much deal with Max Scherzer and the Nationals. They got a couple of bags over there, but whatever. Congratulations on the championship.
He's got those two different color eyes too. There's something about that that's off-putting or offsetting. I don't know about that, But but man, me and Sean, as we before we brought you on, we were just giving the overall thoughts about welcoming baseball back and the meaning of it and everything. And for you, I know that you're very much into the game. You broadcast, very much into the Sox as well. We'll get to the Sox in a minute, but overall, as a baseball fan and also a critical observer, you're a guy who doesn't lack opinions. Is there anything about this season or these games that are first, what's your overall thoughts about it, and is there anything about it that is sort of sticking at you or sort of making you feel uneasy in any way?
Well, playing these games in a pandemic with its people getting tested, like Juan Soto today got COVID-19, and Yohan Moncada before with the White Sox. I speculate that Nomar Mazara on the White Sox also has COVID. They just haven't talked about it. So that makes me uneasy that all these players and their families and people who are close to them could be affected by this disease for our entertainment. Of course, it's their profession, but also I think most of this is for money and the entertainment of the American people. So I feel a little uneasy celebrating that, but since we're going to do it, I might as well feel, comfortable with it as it is. So as far as the games and the new playoff system they just did today, where they're having 16 teams, I'm in favor of that on any other time, but not this short season and not hours before the season starts. People are making decisions before this on a 10-team playoff schedule. I think GMs are like, you know what? We don't have a shot this year. We're not one of the top 10 teams in the league. We're going to sell off, or we're going to have minor improvements. Now 16 teams, more than half the teams make the playoffs. Anybody's game now. So I think to give the GMs and the front office staff this short of a notice before the season starts, it's kind of rank. I don't like that too much, but it gives my White Sox a chance to make the playoffs even more.
I would figure that would be your silver lining. And yeah, I think it is, comparing it to the NBA at least, which is the sport that we've had the best examples of the way that they've prepared for their shortened the continuation of their season. I think baseball has been doing more stuff on the fly. They've been more experimental, willing to be experimental this season. Bringing the DH to National League and everything. And I'm just not understanding the mentality of doing that. What do you think? What do you think is behind them being so willing to experiment and try these different things out in this shortened season, Eric?
I think baseball understands that it's a dying sport. Their average age is in the mid-50s, a mid-50s white man. So that guy will age out of their demo soon, and they need younger eyes to be on their sport. So they think that scoring more runs is the key. So that's hence the guy on second in the extra innings, giving him a chance to score. Giving more runs. The DH gives a opportunity to score more runs. I'm in favor of the DH in both leagues. I've been a universal DH guy for a while now, but this is what baseball is trying to get younger eyes, and I applaud them on trying to do different things in a sport that's been very hesitant to change for such a long time. But I just think they're focusing on some of the wrong things because baseball, the pace of play, I don't think is a real problem for me. If you're a baseball fan, you understand the game is going to be lulls and downtime. You live for the times where they do have some excitement. For the kids, I would just say, hey, kids, what do you want in the game? And I think the answer came back is more scoring, more action, less lag. And they're trying to, speed the pitchers up with a shot clock type of thing. I don't think kids want that. They just want a reason why the pitcher's taking so long on the mound. Okay, he's thinking of strategy. He's thinking about that runner on first. Will he steal? The strategy is also a part of a baseball man's game, a baseball fan's game. I think that still needs to be there. And to advertise to guys like me, you, and Sean who are already in and fans of baseball, that's a mistake. We're in. If they tell us the baseball's going to change, I'm going to bitch about the overtime and the extra inning second base guy all the time. But guess what? Tomorrow I'll be watching the White Sox and all 60 of these games. Yeah. I'm in. You got me, so you don't have to advertise to me. Advertise to the person who's not watching right now. And that's what I think baseball needs to do a little bit more.
I agree with you, Herb.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. Sean, go ahead, man.
I think that baseball was in a sort of a win-win situation more so than any other sport because they were on the brink of striking. I don't know if it was being talked about a lot on a national level, but I certainly feel like, and this is maybe 2 years ago, I was starting to say, you know what, the strike is coming. I could feel it. I could sense the way that decisions were being made. And the players union and the owners were not seeing eye to eye. And, even right up until the announcement that there was going to be a 60-game schedule this year, I was feeling like they weren't going to have a season. So they're in a period right now where, they were already thinking about, reworking the collective bargaining agreement and making amends on both sides so they could improve the game. And now we're in this period where with the condensed schedule, there's a natural frenetic energy that's going to happen because and so why not try these different things? And you alluded to the DH. For the American League is definitely the status quo, but I think that the universal DH changes the game in the sense that it gives those players on the fringe, those older players, veteran hitters, an opportunity to still hang into the game and play the DH role, providing more offense to the teams in the National League. And in this season, maybe we even may see more X's and O's. We more small ball leading to big ball or loud ball. So I applaud them for thinking outside the box because for such a long time, baseball hadn't really done that. We'll see what sticks ultimately. This is basically an asterisk season for baseball. But thinking outside of the box and doing things to, like you say, draw in the younger fan base. Who is going to be their future fans for baseball is critical. So this is a big swing season to be able to do that. Baseball, advanced media, and and what they have at their exposure with technology. It's a two-edged sword, right? Like we talk about, watching the game right now, and the sound element of baseball is probably the thing that's most distorted because we don't have fans in the ball club. You think about the technology piece, and can you imagine the Astros and banging trash cans right now? The mics could pick up everything. So
Exactly.
I do think that technology, they have the framework and the infrastructure in place to really make it an interactive sport. One where fans could basically be in on the decision making even before managers. You're a click away or a phone swipe away from pulling up stats and being able to do some things. So I think the tools are in place. They just got to tweak a couple more things for that younger audience.
Yeah, I totally agree. They're doing good things this year, and like you said, this is a great year to experiment like they're doing.
Yeah, Sean, what rule or adjustment to the game has you feel best about?
Oh man, I can't say that I have one in particular that I feel. When you say best, you mean just to improve the speed of play, or are you referring to just the enjoyability?
I mean, yeah, just feel most positive about what have a concept
Honestly, man, I'm not. I don't think speeding up the game is the solution. To try and make a game that is inherently slow faster to me is a mistake. I do think that there are some walls in the game that they can speed up. But then again, I've never played 162 games before. I remember, playing and there's always this sense of on the field, off the field, you hustle. But, you try telling that to a guy who's playing 160 games, 162 game schedule, they have their own pace. So, I don't know that there's any rule in particular that I agree with. I'll just say that I think that the element of the game that can probably benefit the most from a rule change, in my opinion, is probably just the intentional walk, man. Like if you're gonna walk a guy, just put him on, and the act of throwing 4 pitches, and that's just a waste of time. That's a dead time that you can eliminate.
Okay. All right. Well, let's I got Jesse Menendez coming up too at the bottom of the hour. So, before we get to him, I want definitely let's speak on the teams in town, and we'll do some Sox talk definitely, but first let's talk about the team that your station covers, the Cubs a bit, and I want to it's great to hear that Rossi is taking over what Madden did with Lawrence. He's going to be doing the weekly interviews. That's be something pretty cool to look forward to on y'all show. Huh?
Yeah, we're really looking forward to it because I wasn't really around when Joe Madden was doing the shows with Lawrence. I was still in the evening shows, but I used to listen to him all the time, and it seemed like Lawrence got better answers out of these guys than regular hosts do. And so David Ross seems like a fun-loving, energetic manager and a guy. I'm looking forward to Tuesdays at noon every week with him just to hear what he's got to say. If the Cubs struggle, if they come out with that same chipper attitude, if the Cubs are up and doing well in this shortened season, is he going to be even more hyped? And Lawrence will ask him the tough questions that need to be asked. I think this year managers are going to be tested a little bit more because of the 3 batter minimum for the relievers. People are going to be on Rossi if they get a player that doesn't perform well in that regard, a reliever that doesn't perform well in that regard, and he is the first-time manager. Like, these are rookie manager mistakes, and Lawrence will be asking the questions that need to be asked by the fans, and so I'll be looking forward to that. And it was a good move, I guess. Time was of the essence, and 5 years was enough for Joe Madden. I liked them, but the Cubs grew weary, and Theo and Jed want a guy that can be more on their wavelength, and Joe's doing his own thing.
Yeah, what do you think overall about the Cubs? Like, it would seem that they're roster-wise, they're under pressure to win now. but they didn't do much in the way of really putting more power or more anything in the lineup. They didn't address the pitching too much, and they got a rookie manager now. He's one that's very familiar with the roster that they have, but he's still a rookie manager. So, what do you think? We're pretty clear on what the motivations and the mindset for the Sox is, but what do you think it is for the Cubs? Like, what are beyond just going as far as they can go? What do you think they're trying to do this year?
I think that Theo and Jeb believe that the lineup is good enough. They told you as much with no acquisitions, or either they think the lineup's good enough, or they're getting their purse strings tightened a little bit by the ownership. I think it's a little bit mix of both, but also Theo likes the people he has in the lineup. I think the problem with it is the on base. They used to be the leaders in on base back when they won the World Series and years after, but last year I think they're middle of the pack or one of the worst, especially at the top of the lineup, and that's the reason why Chris Bryant's going to the top of the lineup with Anthony Rizzo batting right behind him. They think that will fix the lulls that they have with offense. Sometimes they explode for 15 runs, and then sometimes they get one or two, and it's unexplainable, especially with guys they have in that lineup, and they're just expecting Chris Bryant to progress because he's still in his prime. Same thing with Rizzo, Baez, Contreras, Schwarber. They do have lethal power right there. Those 5 guys I just named, that's tough. That's tough to beat. So to have those guys in the lineup will be solid. It's just those rest of those guys. You got, 6, 7, 8, and 9 in that lineup. It's like, it's going to be a little rough. I mean, Albert Moore or Hap, Descalso's on the DL, so they're going to go with Kipnis or Horner. That's a little tough. And in right field, Jason Hayward hasn't shown that he's a major league hitter as yet. So, and then whoever they're going to put at DH. That's the question marks for me and their pitching staff. But the top 5, there's no argument. They're going to hit.
Sure, definitely. And but even with that group over the past couple of years, they've had some deadly periods where they just gone flat. That whole order has gone flat. And you look at those, look at the couple games they had. They looked a little better against the Twins, but against the Sox, they didn't really show much at all. So, there's exhibition games, of course, but it's definitely I definitely hope that they'll show more pop, and they'll have to show it kind of right away as they get into the schedule. So, Sean, you got any particular thoughts on the Cubbies?
Well, I've written about the Cubs for a number of years now, Cal, and my position over time has slowly started to just diminish. Like, I always loved the Cubs. That was the team that I grew up rooting for. But post 2016, man, I hadn't liked the direction of the team. And to Her's point, it's not necessarily a personnel thing, but the challenge with them is really tapping into a psychology, a mentality, a swagger that they carry collectively as a unit that obviously they felt wasn't on. They weren't bringing that to the table with Joe Madden, and a change needed to be made. David Ross, he knows the players, he knows the buttons to push, but it's ultimately on those players to take a different approach. I know that the Cubs, they've been kind of stubborn. There's been this sense of, for me at least as a fan and viewing them from afar, it looks like there was a little bit of entitlement in 2017, 2018. And you have to adapt your mentality after you win it all. You go from the hunter to being the hunted, and all eyes are on you, and every team is coming at you to give you their best. There's nobody's smiling. You know what I mean? Like, there's a certain level of grit that I think that they were missing, and I hope they bring that back to their style of play, because I think that's especially in Wrigley Field with that environment. That's what really makes or breaks good teams for the club.
Yeah, I know grit. Going from the stuff you've written for us, that's something that you've definitely appreciated, in the whole respect 90 mentality when Madden was there. It seemed like they're gonna have to find something new along that in that similar vein with Rossi. Hopefully he could bring that sort of inspiration to them. But before we go into the Sox, right quick, you mentioned, Sean, the whole the advantage of playing in Wrigley, and the advantage that's sort of usually there when they have fans. Do you think it's going to be, how different do you think it's going to be this year, where instead of rowdy fans in the bleachers, they got big advertisements now strewn over the seats? How much of a difference is that going to make?
It's going to be tough on all baseball teams to adjust. I mean, the protocol that baseball has in place now for, distancing, the extended clubhouses, the tiered passes for personnel getting in, certain areas of the ballpark is going to definitely change the way that we view the game and the way the players view the game. But I think the advantage is going to be for the veteran teams. Teams that have rosters with players who have been through those moments where they've had to be resilient. Whereas with younger players and players that are still developing those routines, you take them out of a comfort zone and what they're used to in their surroundings may be a little bit more difficult for them. So the Cubs and the DH, it'll definitely help them as well to get extra bat in that lineup. But those guys have been around each other for a while now. And you bring in an element in Ross, albeit a new manager, but one who's very familiar with those players. I don't expect there to be as drastic of a learning curve for them as a more youth-oriented team or a younger team.
Okay, and you talk about youth-oriented teams. One of the a team that stands out along that way is the Sox, Southsiders, and Herb. I saw some people try to clown on the Sox, man. They talk about the empty stadium. Some people say it's like a regular Tuesday at the rate, man.
Yeah, I mean,
but
that's the low joke right there.
Yeah, that's low hanging fruit, though, man. They got to get off the Southsiders eventually, and that's what this year is about. It's about changing the narrative down there, changing the perspective, no longer being just the second team in town again, getting back that swagger that they had, some 15 years ago. So, as I know you're a Sox guy through and through, but you're not a yes man. You definitely have your feelings about the things that they do. What are your thoughts right now on the team, how they prepared themselves for this season, and what do you think the outlook is for them?
And to take something what Sean was saying about the Cubs and how they don't really have a collective swagger, that is not the case on the South Side. Yeah. Tim Anderson leads the way. His just bravado, everything about him I love, because he just shows who he is. And I think when his friend passed away to gun violence a couple of years ago, that really showed him, because before that he was just being that baseball guy, quiet, not celebrating his victories, just putting his head down and concentrating. When his friend died, one of his best friends died, I think he realized that life's too short. And if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it my way. And ever since then, that's the progression you've seen. The hitting that Tim Anderson did last year, I just think is a progression of the work and also having fun, enjoying the game. And that's what the White Sox will do. Him, Yohan, Eloy, Luis Robert, Jose Abreu, they have studs there. And they brought in a guy that is the best catcher, I think, in the game, and Yasmani Grandal will make this pitching staff that much better. And we'll need that, because the main problem that I have with the White Sox and their chances this year are their back of their rotation guys. So 3, 4, 5, and then you can put 6 in there if you put Gio Gonzalez, who's going to start off in the bullpen as a starter. But Dylan Cease, Ronaldo Lopez, and Carlos Rodon will be their 3, 4, 5 starters, where their number 1 being Giolito and Keuchel. Those guys solid at the top. 3, 4, 5, like Cease is an up-and-comer. He'll be eventually fine, but this year will be his real first test. Like last year was his rookie year, but it was a halted rookie year because he started half of the year in the minors. This year he'll be counted on to give him 11 starts. And will he be able to do that for the White Sox at a consistent basis? Because last year he would just give up one bad inning and then calm down after the rest. That needs to go away because they're counting on him to be the fourth starter in this rotation. And for the Sox to be anywhere near Cleveland or Minnesota, they need 1 through 5 to be solid. Doesn't have to be great. All need to be just above average. And so Rodon, when he pitches, when he's healthy, solid. I'll take what he does. But the fact that he's been injured all his career scares me. And then the inconsistencies of Ronaldo Lopez. 2018, he was a little bit better. He's above average. 2019, he was horrible. And we're thinking that he's going to take the jump back to being actually respectable in 2020, and that's what the White Sox need. They don't need a stud. They don't need a ass kicker. They just need a guy that's going out, giving them 5 to 6 innings, giving up 3 runs per, and then going to sit down and letting the bullpen take over. That's all they need, and that's a very minimal ask from those 3, 4, 5 guys. I don't know if they can get that from them, but otherwise, the hitting's going to be phenomenal. As we saw with these exhibition games, those guys bring bats. And Luis Robert is going to be an absolute stud. And Yoan Moncada, I think, is still the best player on the team.
Yeah, I think the only thing with Robert, he just need a glove that fits better on the hand.
Yes, he does.
he'll be all right. But that was a hell of a play that he made yesterday, regardless of losing it over the fence there. But before we about to bring Jesse Menendez on, but Sean, before we bring him on, what are your thoughts right quick on the Sox?
Oh, I love what the Sox got cooking, man. You know, like, and even though I grew up a Cubs fan, I'm from the South Side. I always went to, the White Sox, traveled to the park to see their games. So I love what the Sox got going. I love the swagger. I worry a little bit about Tim Anderson, just in the sense that he means so much to that team and just the mentality of his at bats. And he made such a big jump last year in batting average. There's going to be an adjustment. I think pitchers are going to adjust and do things with him a little bit differently. And if he doesn't fall into striking out a lot, because he's definitely a contact hitter. That's the source of his on base is hitting the ball. So. I would hate to see a regression, because I think he sets the table for them as a team. And but yeah, beyond that, I can't agree anymore with what you said, Herb. They're stacked. They've got young, exciting bats in the lineup. You start getting Bo Jackson comparisons to Louis. Mm-hmm. Like it's that I'm excited to see him play.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they've got a great team on paper, and let's see what they do in the 60-game sprint.
Okay, all right. Let's bring Jesse on now. La Vida Baseball's own managing director of La Vida Baseball. Is that correct, Jesse?
That is correct, good sir.
How you doing, man?
Hello.
Doing all right, man. The weather in Chicago is finally looking up. It's not too hot. It's just perfect. So all is good on my end. How are y'all doing?
I'm doing great.
We're good, man. We're just here talking about the White Sox right now.
I heard. You're talking about my man Tim Anderson.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Timmy and and the whole thing down there with the Southsiders this year?
Man, super excited. Not to sound like a homer, Ozzie Guillen Sr. and Jr. are 2 of my colleagues, so you would think that I'm automatically going to lean toward the White Sox, but just from like a outsider looking in perspective, Southside fans have a lot to be excited about. That Herb, you were talking about it. Sean, you were talking about it. Stacked young team. Tim Anderson and the one-hole contact hitters looking great. He's got some support behind him. So again, if Robert can keep that glove on, I think they're going to be good on the defensive end as well. But you know what I like about Tim is I feel like last year was kind of his introduction to mainstream Major League Baseball. If you're on the South Side, you already know who Tim Anderson is. But I think Major League Baseball was introduced to him. One of the things that I think was exciting about Tim was that he got on the big stage through not just his play, obviously batting champ, but the bat flip heard around the world. I don't know of a more telling conversation that took place last season than Tim Anderson and the bat flip. I know it kind of reignited the whole discussion of how the game is supposed to be played, whether or not you should just hit the ball, take your base, or whether or not we're going to be allowing our young cats to show out, be excited, be exciting, show emotion. So Tim
Let the
Anderson
kid
to me
play.
is one of the most exciting play. Let the kids play. It's crazy. We talked to Tim Anderson. It seems like a million years ago, but we talked to him at the White Sox Fan Fest, and we asked him specifically about that. If you remember, Tim Anderson's bat flip, really caused a lot of conversations. Yet when it came time for the Let the Kids Play or We Play Loud campaign, Tim Anderson wasn't a part of it. So we asked him about that,
Yeah.
and he was like, it's motivation. I'm not satisfied with what I achieved last season. This is going to be me stepping into a bigger role with this team, and just showing everybody what I can do.
I spoke with Dean Davis about this the other day, and we talked particularly about how dark this Sox team kind of is, and it's dark in different ways. That in Afro Latino, it's definitely a lot of Afro Latino representation, and when you look at the specific representation that Tim has had culturally in what he's done in the past year or so, and really bigging himself up and bigging up a sort of way of play that baseball has been really not taking a shine to. I think it's significant, and I think especially on a place like the South Side of Chicago, it's something that we really respect more than a lot of other fan bases in MLB. So, Jesse, first, I want to get your opinion on it. Representing for La Vida baseball, what do you think about the cultural aspects of the White Sox and what it could mean in regards to sort of transforming some things in regards to how baseball is portrayed with minority audiences?
No, I think Kyle, I think you hit it right on the head. White Sox baseball has a connotation, blue collar, diverse team working hard for everything that they get. I mean, it's no secret Chicago is mostly seen as a Cubs city, but the Sox still continue to put in that work. They still continue to win and gain accolades all around, yet they're not given their just due. And I think that serves as a motivating factor for a lot of those players. Speaking to the diversity of their lineup, the darker elements that you referred to, Kyle. Yeah, I think right now we're in a moment of reckoning right now, and I think there's no better team than the White Sox, in my opinion, to kind of come to the forefront with a player like Tim Anderson, who's been very vocal, by the way, of accepting the role of being a role model for brown and black kids all across the United States. And just like some of his charity work and some of the things that he's into in the off season are all about introducing baseball to kids in neighborhoods that don't necessarily have access to it. So I think, the White Sox with Moncada, with, Jimenez, with La Pantera, with, you name it, up and down, that team is stacked with, brown and black brothers who show out for theirs for sure. I think representation is a huge thing. And Tim, again, going back to Tim Anderson, one of my favorite players in the league, Tim makes no amends about it. He says, he is happy to be this generation's Jackie Robinson and usher the game, to a whole new generation of kids. And I think it says a lot about the White Sox. And I think specifically that embracing of their identity is a beautiful thing, especially in Major League Baseball, when up until this last few months has been severely lacking with folks willing to kind of open their mouths about what's happening in the world today. Because let's be honest, we don't live in a parallel universe. Things that happen outside of the field do impact the players on the field. Racial injustice, for a while, that was something that Major League Baseball just did not want to touch, right? And which was funny because if you think about the makeup of the league, we got 31% Latino, we got, a great amount of foreign-born black and brown players in this league. Yet when it came to the topics that really do impact these individuals, you didn't really hear much about it. So I think Tim Anderson and, of course, other White Sox players are in a position to really own that mantle. I think it's a great time for White Sox baseball for more than just, balls and strikes.
And you talk about baseball as a whole. I'm looking. They got BLM on the bases tonight at Nationals Park. They got BLM on the pitcher's mound. I mean,
Did you ever think that would happen?
Not at all. Couldn't imagine that before 2 months ago.
No.
Herbie, you got anything to jump on? With those particular aspects of cultural representation with the White Sox, and if you want to get into the larger baseball response as well, feel free.
Yeah, the outreach that Tim Anderson's had before, and then other people are grabbing the mantle and running alongside him with Lucas Giolito, which him and his wife have always been activists for just human rights. It's not political. It's not anything that has to separate us as a fan base. It's just, hey, treat everybody like you want to get treated. Let's get up to a level. The black people are still on that second level with some and most white people in this world. So let's get up to that level. Let's have everybody be equal. But it's good that the White Sox, it seems like, are very unintentionally Latin. Like Latinx is represented well. There's like 4 Cubans on the team, some Dominicans on the team, Venezuelans on the team, and they all have different colors. So I think that as a team, it's brown and black players. They're kind of representing a different look in baseball. Like most of the players are Latino, but they're not like dark Latinos like the representation we're getting with Eloy out in left field, and we got Luis Robert in center field. Those are black brothers. They walked on the street. That's black. So it's good to see them represent their countries and represent us too at the same time. I feel pride when I see Luis Robert do what he did yesterday. I almost caught that ball. I feel pride in Eloy because like we grew up, we had 20% black players in the league. We had people look up to Tony Gwynn, Ken Griffey Jr. and all this. Nowadays, I mean, there's players in the league, Andrew McCutchen, Tim Anderson, of course, others, David Price. But Andrew Jones got to go over to Asia to play now. Like the representation of us, when I see us on the field, that's probably one of the problems why we're not having kids out there or kids are not watching the sport because if I can't see it, I don't want to do it. They see LeBron doing this thing, and it's hard to get in baseball. It's really expensive, and that's why Tim Anderson and other people, Ed Howard, who was part of the program the White Sox run, that's why they can go to programs like that because they need teams to fund them in a sport like baseball. Like Sean, I heard Kyle talking about you earlier. He said you play baseball your whole life, and baseball is expensive, really expensive to play, especially nowadays where kids are doing this AAU thing. So it's really good the White Sox to wrap this whole rant up. Really good the White Sox have brown and black people doing well, so we can have representation. Other black and brown kids can say, okay, that's an option. I never thought of an option, but now I can do that. I want to be Tim Anderson. I want to be Eloy. I want to be Jose Abreu, Yohan Moncada, either of them.
Love it.
Yeah,
love it.
Definitely. We got to promote these contracts that some of these brothers are getting too. I think they need to know what Mookie Betts is getting. So we can start pushing these youngins like, hey, you can get some money doing this, man. But with that said, let's take an eye to the league at large, and of course that's a big story that happened this week. Mookie getting locked up for 13 years with the Dodgers. So
he got the whole bag.
Ideally, he's gonna be there till middle age. Ideally, if they keep him. But the Dodgers are a team that's gonna have a lot of pressure on them. The Yankees we see tonight, they're going. Both of those teams are playing tonight. Their team is gonna have a lot of pressure on them. Houston, I think, is looking to be the first team, I believe, to have 300 win seasons in a row. They're and of course there's still the stain on them, but they're going to be trying to compete. And there's a lot of teams out there that are have interesting storylines. What sort of storylines are from the league at large are sticking out to you guys right now?
You know what? One of the more interesting storylines is the Houston Astros. Obviously, Kyle, like you said, there's a stain on them, but does that stain get washed off because there are no fans to give it to them? Because right now it's totally up to the players on whether or not they're going to hold the Astros accountable when they face them, right? Because I think before we found out that we would be canceling spring training and then the season was starting up with no fans, we assumed the Astros would have to pay their dues, and that would mostly come from the opposing team's fan base, right? As soon as they step up to the plate, as soon as they're announced, the fans would give it to them. They'd give it to them all game long. For every game of the season, they were going to hear it from every single fan base. Now it's interesting because I don't know if enough has happened to where the players have forgotten about this. I'm forgetting the player. God, I wish I had the quote, but he was saying when I first heard of the Astros cheating, I was pissed. I was super upset. But then COVID-19 happened. My perspective has changed on a lot. I'm just happy to have the game back. I'm not even thinking about the Astros, and I'm wondering if a lot of players are going to adopt that stance, considering there's so much at stake with this season. I don't know if they're going to be keeping the Astros in mind. And if they don't, I know we saw 3 Astros get plucked the other day. It was Bregman, it was Springer, and Altuve. I wonder if that's going to happen. And if nothing happens to the Astros during this 60-game sprint, does this carry over to the next season, 2021? Or have they just dodged the bullet? Will they be thinking they're lucky stars for COVID-19?
Sean, you over there in Cleveland, right?
Yeah, I'm in the land on the other side of the lake, fellas.
In the land. Yes, there's a couple interesting things going on with them, and I think some people are looking at Cincinnati down the road as a potential upsetter there in Central. What do you think about those teams out there?
Absolutely. If we're talking pick'ems, I have Cincinnati on my list as a wild card. I do think the Cubs will likely win the Central, but that Cincinnati team is legit. And you all are just talking about just where baseball is culturally and socially. How about Joey Votto and what he did, and really just using his platform to raise. And here's the thing, fellas. I think that we got to really watch these hotbed cities where socially they're almost powder kegs, and Cincinnati has always been that way. So I think what Joey Votto did was intentional, and it was big for that team. They've got a shot at taking things up in the National League, and they'll be exciting to watch. And as far as the team is concerned, I think they're probably one of the things right now. They're definitely knee deep in a name change. I talked to an insider with the Indians organization back in December, and I asked them about where the team stood with that. And at the time, they had taken a more lukewarm stance on changing the team, but they were eliminating the Chief Wahoo character and things of that nature. But now what's going on, from monuments being torn over to, the Washington Redskins. And I think that the Cleveland Indians are in a different situation right now. And unfortunately, that may have some carryover in how they play as a team this season.
Yeah, the Indians, another team with Washington's football team that, we know they've been problematic for a minute, but it's been hard to imagine that they would ever get to a point where they would actually entertain changing their logo and their branding. But it seems like they may be on the way. That domino may be about to fall as well.
Yeah, they're next. I mean, that's where we are in 2020, though, man. There's the accountability lens is higher than it's ever been, and that resonates in all facets of life. But because sports is something that we watch with a scrutinous eye. We're seeing and hearing these stories, and they're not going to slow down. So they're just the next team in the list of them that are dealing with that delicate situation.
Y'all think this changes the game for the fan base?
Not at all. I think the fan bases are going to be mad initially, and no one's going to stop cheering for the Cleveland or Washington teams once they change their names. And I do believe the Cleveland Indians will change their names. I think to me it's not offensive, but also I'm not Native American, so I can't speak to them. I would just rather get rid of all Native American imagery as a sports and logo and be smooth like that, and actually celebrate them, the actual people, not the damn teams. God, I just hate that argument. It's just dumb as hell. How we remember the Native Americans? You can go to a museum. You can go to a reservation. They're still here. They took their land, but they're still here. But yeah, I wish they would not do that unless you're giving a lot of money back to their causes, like Florida State does.
Right. Ever any teams that are striking your interest in the other divisions?
Well, I lived in San Diego for a little bit, so I'm a Padres fan. I don't think they can win the West because I think the Dodgers are the best team, bar none, in this league. But I'm just as excited for the Padres as I am with the White Sox. Same type of swagger. You got Fernando Tatis Jr. I mean, if you've never, I know you guys have, but I watch him on purpose, just isolate him. He's exciting. He's probably the most exciting player in the league to me. His glove's a little, it's there. He can get to balls that people can't get to, but his defense was a little shaky last year, but he got to a lot and made some spectacular plays. But his bat, as a 21-year-old last year, he was on his way to being the Rookie of the Year. If he would have played the full year, his stats are better than Pete Alonso's. I'm telling you, that kid is great. And Manny Machado, Eric Hosmer's coming back, getting Tommy Pham on the team, and the young arms with the Sheriff, Chris Paddock, Mackenzie Gore should be coming up this year, Denelson Lamet. They got a whip over there, and they're bringing Garrett Richards back to be their number 2 or number 3 starter from the Angels off of injury. I think the San Diego Padres will make some noise and make the playoffs this year.
Okay. Any I heard some people talking today about possible 400 hitters and certain things like that may happen in a shortened season like this. I think I heard him mention that Bellinger had 400 late at a pretty late point last season. I don't know. I forget exactly, but anything like that, do you think can happen? Let's go all out. Like, what's the weirdest thing that or the most monumental thing that you think can happen this season? Can we have like a 40-game hit streak in 60 games or something like that, or a 400 hitter, or a triple crown guy, another triple crown guy, something like that? What do you think?
I think one of the things that's interesting is going to be the Cy Young race, right? Pitchers have a shorter amount of time to get that work in, but I guarantee you, Garrett Cole, Madison Bumgarner, I guarantee you they're salivating at the opportunity to win something like Cy Young in this shortened season. Less wear and tear on the arm, kind of focus in on what they do best and see if they can capitalize on what's gotten them to this point, in their career.
And I think that the thing that if I'll see, it's going to be very impressive, is a no-hitter. I think the ball is the same as last year. I think it's that juice ball. Starting in July, weather is great. Balls are carrying out. You saw the other day where Yelich, which has a lot of power, he hit a ball that was pretty much a pop fly that Rodon threw, and that went over the left field fence. I was like, these balls are juiced. And Roberts hitting balls to the last row of the damn section, almost to the concourse. If I see a no-hitter this year, I'll be shocked, because balls, it seems like, and starting in the middle of this year where the weather's balmy, it's going to be hard as hell to keep every guy off the base for 9 innings. And to go 9 innings this year is going to be amazing to me also.
For me, I think
we might see a lot of pops right out.
That extended hitter.
Go ahead.
Not having the white T-shirts and jerseys in the background to hide the ball. Yeah, the hitters. I think the hitters are going to have the advantage. And for me, seeing the impact of the DH in the National League over time, you start rolling that lineup over day in and day out, and having that extra bat. How National League pitchers really adjust to that. I do expect to see a decline in the pitching numbers in the league because of that. And as far as statistics are concerned, just the other day I was thinking, I was saying, in a 60-game season, like, what's really an attainable number? Are we talking about 75 RBIs? Who's going to be the first to get to 100 RBIs? So really just, are we talking 30 home runs, 100 RBIs? Is that attainable in a 60-game season? The way that the ball is jumping, as you just mentioned, Herb, I mean, it may not be too far-fetched. So I'm just interested to see how the especially in the National League, the hitting takes with the DH.
I wonder statistically speaking.
I think I read that. I think I read that Bonds is maybe the only person who's had like 35 in a 60-game stretch. So I think 35 is like the high level that we could see. If somebody could pass that would be pretty impressive.
Yeah, for sure.
Kyle, you were talking about oddities. Yeah, no, Kyle, you were asking about oddities, and I'm wondering if teams like the Tigers, who lost 114 last season, statistically will now come into this season and drop like 44 games out of the 60. That's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah. There's going to be any tanking in a 60-game season. I don't know who they would tank for in particular, but you never know. But one thing I want to get into before we wrap this up, Ozzy, had an interesting interview this week where he said that, of course, he said that he belongs in the league, back in the league, and I think given all our backgrounds and we saw him at the peak of his powers here in Chicago, we'd be willing to agree with him. So, Jesse, starting with you, man, what do you think about that whole situation with Ozzy? Do you think he's being blackballed, and what type of situation do you think he should be in right now with Major League Baseball?
It's a tough one because his winning percentage says that he deserves to have another chance and he deserves to be in the league coaching. Cats are being brought up with a lot less experience, and so when Ozzy said that he was better than 90% of the managers in the league, I don't know about that number because I don't even know. I think that's like 27. He's better than 27 managers. But I get what he was coming from. In fact, we're going to talk about that tomorrow on the B and Gian show. There's a certain confidence you have to have, right? Kyle, Sean, Herb. I guarantee you, whenever it comes time to talk sports, you're like, yo, I talk sports better than anybody. And why wouldn't you want to have that swag with whatever you do? So in that respect, yeah, of course. Did you expect Ozzy to say, man, they're right for keeping me out of the league. I don't know if I'd be able to manage in this day and age. No, of course not. He's going to say, yeah, I still deserve to be here. I have a lot to prove, and I'm good. I have a resume. Do I think he's being blackballed? It'd be hard to say no, just because of the opportunities that come up, the folks that they've, dug up just to fill some of these spots, and some of the cats that they do have filling these new coaching positions. What he said and when he said it, I think there was a level of it that was certainly taken out of context in respects to they didn't quite get what Ozzy was referring to when he said his comments about Fidel Castro. Ozzy Guillen does not love Fidel Castro. He was more so talking about, man, it's crazy. This dude has been in power for this many years, despite the U.S. and other governments trying to take him out. That's something to admire. You can say what you want about whether or not you agree with that sentiment or whether or not he should have said it. But I do think there's something to him not being given another chance. I think Reinsdorf essentially said one time, look, if I were to hire Ozzy Guillen again, I know I'd probably be firing him, 2 weeks later or something. So I think there's an element of some folks worrying about him and his kind of off the cuff type commentary or just things that he may say. But Ozzy Guillen is not a stupid man. Ozzy Guillen is not a hateful person. Ozzy Guillen is not a malicious individual. I think, there's something to him not being in the league right now. And statistically speaking, his resume speaks for himself. I mean, he brought a chip to the city, right? I think he deserves to be in the league, and I do think there's an element of collusion or whatever you might call it about him not being in the league. It's got to be, right? At this point, there are no other ways to look at it than that. in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I think he's being blackballed also. There's no reason why a World Series championship manager who was unfairly treated in Miami, and I understand that it's, very Cuban, like there's a lot of Cubans in Miami and they felt a certain way about that, but the team didn't give him enough of his contract or his time to manage to maybe make amends for for the comments. And um, I just think, and as you said, Jesse, they were blown out of proportion and context. And even if he was the worst guy and they thought he was the guy that does make those comments and was malicious about it, I think still a man like that deserves to be doing the job that he wants to do. I'm surprised. I mean, I know they love Ricky, but if he messes up, and I know Kenny and him didn't have the greatest relationship, what better choice would be to have Ozzie Guillen back on the dugout in the clubhouse with the guys? And to ask any guy you want, there's nothing that Ozzy's not doing. Sometimes they think maybe he's doing it for himself, but he's doing all the interviews and all the stuff about him being bombastic and such for the press to keep the pressure off the players.
Yeah.
That's what some of the 2005 White Sox would tell you. Like, we just had to play baseball, and Ozzy was doing Ozzy things, and so the press was talking about them, and there was no pressure on us. We went out and played baseball, and we played it well, and you see the results. So I think he does that for teams. Think about all the Ozzy teams. They had very little talent sometimes, but did they go out and compete every night? Did they go out and give it all and sometimes just fall short of the playoffs? Yeah. And some might argue the value of a manager of wins and losses, myself included, but Ozzy has results. And if this is a results-based business, he needs to be back in there. Dusty's got many a chance, and Nam, one of them, is a championship. I love Dusty. Takes a lot of teams to the playoffs, but if Dusty can get back in, Ozzy has to get back in. And we're talked about the Latinx culture that's going on. Who's better to speak to players than Ozzy Guillen, especially in their type of slang?
Two things. You can tell how much the world has changed because Dusty has reportedly he doesn't have the toothpick anymore. He has to have the mask on, so he can't do the toothpick. That shows you how much the world has changed with Dusty. Can't have the toothpick.
Probably pissed.
And two,
it's $20 toothpick.
I think right. I think Ronsdorf should stop fronting and just go full Billy Martin and what's Steinbrenner
yeah.
with Isaac. Yeah, just hire him and fire him 5 times. Get you a couple more rings. Let's let that play out as it will. And I think we'll all be happier if that happens. I would be at least. It would be a lot more interesting at least.
Ricky would be so pissed. He'd be like, first the Cubs and then the Sox, man.
Right? Yeah. That's what I was thinking too. I don't think it ever was real, but like I was just thinking like, what if like Madden had jumped over to the South Side and he's like, damn, I lose 2 jobs to this dude. I'd have to cut him in the I'd have to go after him, but no. But we got to end it on that, man. Harvey, Jesse, man, thanks a lot, man. You guys have, you really made this a great thing for us, man. You guys been great, and we got to have you on to talk more baseball in the future with We Are Rico Radio, man. I really appreciate you guys. If you can each just give off what you guys are doing, how people can reach you online and stuff, what you got going on before we wrap up, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jesse.
Me personally, I'm a pretty lame cat, so I got nothing going on, so I can be here for the next 4 days if you need me. But the little network I am part of, La Vida Baseball, has some pretty cool things taking place over the last couple of days to celebrate opening day. Tomorrow, if you tune in, we have the Being Guillen show, which is obviously Ozzie Guillen Jr., and Oni Guillen. We call it like our own little sports reality show. It's family, life, baseball. That's Being Guillen. Also, we have some pretty cool guests. We have Giants manager Gabe Kepler coming on. Well, we already recorded it. We have ESPN's Enrique Rojas. We have Benji Molina and Polo Asensio, who are the Spanish language broadcasters for the St. Louis Cardinals coming on. Some other folks I'm leaving off, but other than that, it's just celebrating the game we all love, man. That's La Vida baseball.
And
definitely give them a follow. Support La Vida baseball. Go ahead, Herb.
And I'm a producer for the Lawrence Holmes Show, which tomorrow at noon, 6:70 The Score, we'll have on White Sox general manager Rick Hahn to talk about his squad and how he feels about this 2020 season. And then at 12:40, we're supposed to have him on noon, but Hahn bumped Steve Stone to 12:40 or 12:40. Yeah, we're gonna have him. I was thinking 12:30, but
he's a busy guy.
White Sox hour for the 12 o'clock hour, and then we'll try to balance it out with some type of club thing at 1 o'clock. We're not too. No, actually, 1 o'clock we're having Anthony Herron to talk football. So no Cub talk for you tomorrow. Sorry, guys.
I'm sure that upsets you. Yeah.
The game will be on later on the station. 5:10 pregame for the Cubs. If you're listening, if you want to watch, you actually want to witness the game, you might have to listen it on 670 The Score instead of on the TV. Like Marquee is still dragging the feet with Comcast.
Exactly. I kind of wanted to go in on the Marquee thing a little bit, but maybe we can do that some other time because I don't think that's going to get any straighter in the near future.
Definitely.
But anyway, guys, thanks again. Like I said, appreciate you guys a lot, man. Have a good one and enjoy the games, man, to come, man.
All right, thanks.
It's back.
Jesse, thank you so much.
All right.
Have a great rest of your day, y'all.
All right.
Yeah, Sean. Me and Sean are gonna stick around, and we're gonna be doing, for the first time in quite a while, the Varsity Show, the original show that we did with WeAreRegalRadio.com, and hopefully we'll have some of our guys on with us. So we're gonna end this stream here, and we're gonna be back up in a few minutes with the Varsity Show, talking. We're gonna maybe do some more baseball talk. We'll talk about some other stuff too, Sean. So we just gonna have fun and chop it up for going up until the 9 o'clock hour. So I'm gonna end this, and thanks for y'all for watching on YouTube, and definitely, or if you're listening on Anchor, keep supporting us, man, and give us a good rating on Apple Podcasts or whatever podcast platform that you're listening to us on, man. We appreciate you. Show us love, we'll show it right back. All right, and enjoy the baseball season, y'all.